targeted. So you can see that there's consistency. We are not graduating any farmers. Right? Now, you must remember that populations are growing. And that's the reason why the Farmer Input Support Program, the original idea was to graduate farmers, to help, is to give them a head start. Once you give them a head start, and then you graduate them so that they can stand on their own. So, as PAC, we believe that this kind of managing the budget is not sustainable. And I know some of you have got questions, because the question that we have, as much as you might have, is that how come the 2021 budget of the PF budgeted for about 5.2 billion quarter, targeting 1 million farmers, and still produced 3.6 million tons of maize. And yet the UPND budgeted over 8 billion, targeting 1 million farmers, and produced 3.7 million tons of maize. You can see that there's a mismatch there. In addition, the road infrastructure, from 2022, when the UPND came into government, up to now, various figures have been put in the budget, to dismantle arrears. A total of 22 billion up to this year was put in the budget to dismantle arrears. And domestic arrears, by the time the UPND came into government, like I said earlier, was about 46 billion. But right now it stands at 84 billion, sorry. So despite funds that have been allocated in the budget to dismantle arrears, the domestic arrears still keep going up. The question is that why should we continue increasing these budgets? Road infrastructure has been increased this year from 11 billion in 2025 to 15 billion. It has been increased from 8 billion in 2024 to 11 billion last year, then to 15 billion 2026. Is it these roads we're seeing here around neighborhoods, so that when we're going to the elections, we can see that the government is working? Is that the idea? And why should you increase, even CDF, for example? Why was it increased from 36 million to 40 million when you have to increase domestic borrowing from 15 billion to 21 billion? Is it the elections? Speaking of which, if you look at the 2021 budget for elections, it was at 600 million. And then if you look at 2026 budget for elections, 1.2 billion. The question is, why has the election budget been doubled? What is it that the UPND want to do that is special? Is it that President Hakainde Hichilema's personal project of B7 is guaranteed to pass despite opposition from the majority of the people? So you can see that there are a lot of challenges around this budgeting. And the reason why for us as PAC, we are looking at these budgets we're comparing these budgets in various years, is because the UPND presented its final budget, its fifth budget. And we cannot assess the UPND's number 5 budget based on 2026. We need to look at historical numbers so that we can have an understanding on how they have been doing these things. So we believe that the way the UPND has managed, to do these budgets has not been sustainable. Despite everything that they would say to say, we have improved the economy and all those kind of things. Because it starts from budgeting. So as PAC, we believe that we need to move from a budget which is focused on social spending, giving free things to people. There's no pride in people getting free things. Yes, every society has got vulnerable people that needs to be protected. But if the numbers are increasing of how much you're spending in social security, then it means that the poverty levels are going up as well. Right? We need to start thinking about how do we reverse this poverty. You must remember that according to the World Bank report of 2024, it indicated that Zambia needs to create about 10 million jobs by 2050. That's like 400,000 jobs per year. So if you look at the kind of jobs that have been created by the UPND, majority of which are in government, again, is that a sustainable way of creating jobs? So as PAC, we want to say that as the Zambians are going for elections in 2026, we have to look at a revolutionary way of looking at things. We cannot continue doing things business as usual. There's no government that should come in 2026 and just try to do better than the other government. A government that comes in 2026 must revolutionize how things should be done. And the only revolution that is available is to ensure that Zambians have a significant role to play in the economy. You cannot call CDF a game changer. That can be a game changer. That's 2.5% of the budget. What is a game changer? A game changer is to ensure that Zambians have got a role to play in the economy. Our target should be that by the time it's 2031, as we target to produce 3 million tons of copper, 1.5 million tons of copper must be owned by Zambians. We need to break the system of where the economy is run by foreigners. We need to create a system where the economy is run by Zambians. That is what is going to change this country. The challenge we have in this economy is that majority of the sectors in this country are run by foreigners. And that's why debt keeps increasing. Because when the foreigners make the profit, they repatriate the profits and go and develop their countries. And this system was perfected during colonial times. The idea of colonialism was to exploit Africa, make Africa the consumer, the supply of raw materials and the uptake of finished goods. The question that I have for you is that, has that system changed? What do we own in this country? Most of us here have got children who are growing up. Most of us here have got nieces who have graduated. Most of us here have got brothers and sisters who have graduated who can't get a job. It's because the target of creating jobs is 400,000. So every year we don't create 400,000 jobs. We are adding another 400,000 on top. So by next year, we should have created 800,000 jobs because more graduates are coming out. And that does not include the backlog of those that are looking for jobs. Most of you remember that in early 2000, when you apply for a job, you find that maybe 50 people apply, 100 people apply, or even that is too much. You go for an interview to work as an accountant, you find 20 people are there for interviews. Do that today. Thousands of young people applying for one job. So the only way that is going to help this country is to reset the economy, to revolutionize the economy, to change it completely, to guarantee Zambians a participation so that profits that are made in the economy are invested in the economy. That is what is going to stimulate the economy. That is what's going to help the government generate more revenue. We cannot relegate Zambians to mine suppliers. We cannot relegate Zambians to artisanal mining licenses. In 2024, 820,000 metric tons of copper was produced. Only 80,000 is attributed to Zambians through artisanal mining licenses. Zambians must be licensed large-scale mining orders, not just artisanal. That's a revolution that all of us here must be singing about. And we should do that without shame or apologies. And this is not just a political rhetoric statement, but it's an actual statement that affects all of us. I don't think everyone who's seated here is happy to see their brothers and sisters not getting jobs, not getting empowerment in business. Farmers who get figures that are producing 2.7 million tons, but the poverty levels in the rural areas is still going up. So it's all of us to think about what do we need to do as a country. You must remember that at independence, the population of this country was about 3.5 million. It grew to about 5 point something 10 years later. Today the population is over 20 million. And we are still working with colonial economic systems. Systems that were meant to exploit us. Come and get resources from this country and repatriate the profits to go and develop their countries. That's why Europe is developed. That's why America is developed. So it is important right now to actually build a Zambia First policy. As you can see the banner behind, it's written 2026. This time, it's time for Zambia. We have to look at our interests first, without apologies and without shame. America today has imposed $15,000 visa on Zambians and Malawians. You know why? They are advocating for the American First policy. It is our call, all of us, to ensure that we work towards a Zambia First policy. If we do not reverse these colonial economic systems, I can assure you for a fact that we're not going anywhere as a country. And there is no politician who is going to campaign just to say, no, I'm going to increase this, I'm going to increase this. Where are they going to get the money? Because the country has got no money. The only way is to reverse these economic systems. The campaigns of, no, we're going to have cheap mini-me, you're going to have cheap fuel, you're going to have cheap electricity is long gone. That's what we've been focusing on from 1964. Where has it taken us? So we must do things differently going forward. As PAC, we pledge to retake this economy and put it in the hands of the Zambian people. In 2025, you can't have foreigners running cleaning companies. In 2025, you can't have foreigners selling second-hand vehicles. In 2025, you can't have foreigners, running, travel agencies, keeping chickens, and many other things which you all know of. That's exploitation. That is perfected exploitation. That's the reason why when these foreigners finish making their money, they leave you with polluted places like Kabwe. Kabwe is one of the polluted cities in the world. When Broken Hill Mine finished doing their business in Kabwe, what did they do? They left. And they left the pollution, and today they said, no, it was not us, we're not involved. Recently, we had the poison of water in the Kafue River by the Chinese mine. And when they're done developing their country in China, what are they going to do? They will leave. So is it wrong for us to focus on on Zambia? I don't think so. It is not wrong for us to focus on Zambia. So this is what we're talking about. The next thing is the Auditor General's report. We have not comprehensively looked at the Auditor General's report, but we have seen highlights. You know, it is a 380-something page document that we're still studying, which came out last week. We shall issue a comprehensive statement. But what we have noted is a continuous abuse of public resources in the Auditor General's report. There is continuous abuse of public resources in the Auditor General's report. Why? Is because our governance system has not been reformed. The issue here is not about how much money. I know that our friends, especially, they want to say, no, the funds that were abused were reduced from 400 million, at least now it's 300 million. But which leakages, which systems actually have sustained the abuse of those funds? You find that the systems that have sustained the abuse of those funds are the same systems that we've been talking about for many, many years. So it is important that we reform our governance system. A governance system that is driven by politics, a governance system that is driven by tribal affiliation, a governance system that is driven by favoritism, nepotism, cannot operate effectively and efficiently. And that is the reason why we keep seeing the same things year in, year out. Same abuses, same style of abuse, because our governance system has not been reformed. As PAC, once we form government in 2026, one of the key reforms we're going to do is our governance system. If you look at Singapore, one of the reasons why they developed is because they did not condone politics of political affiliation, tribal affiliation, nepotism. They work based on merit. Now, these systems that we are still working with in government today, also, we have not reformed them from independence. We do registrations here and there, but every registration that is made is based on how can it benefit those that are in power. Every registration that is made is not about correcting things. It's about how does it benefit those that are in power. Now, that cannot be sustained. We need to have leaders that are going to do things differently. We need to have leaders that are going to have the interests of this country at heart, not their personal interest, who are going to do things right for once, who are going to unite this country, leaders who are going to look at the interests of everyone, not of their tribe or their political party or their friends or something. This is a call to all of us. Like I mentioned earlier, number one, poverty levels are going up. Number 2, populations are going up. Number 3, we need to create 400,000 jobs per year. Number 4, we need to reverse the poverty. Now, for us to do these things, the governance system also has to work. You can have all the good ideas that you can have from the whole world, but as long as the governance system is not working, those ideas cannot be implemented. As long as the governance system is not working, you still receive these reports in the Auditor General's report of abuse of resources, awarding of contracts to people that have no experience just because they've got connections in the government. And when they don't deliver on those jobs, they're not prosecuted, nothing is done to them, is because our governance system is not working. We need to have honest reforms in government. Reforms that won't favor those that are in power, but reforms that will protect the interests of the Zambian people. And the 4 years of the UPND, we have not seen that. And that's why we have all these reports, reporting the same things that we saw in PF, reporting the same things we saw in previous governments, in the MMD. How are other countries like Singapore, United Arab Emirates, China, how are they doing them? How do they manage to do this? Are we incapable? Are we still on that mentality that we picked from colonialism, where they were saying that Africans are not able to do things? That was a setup. When there was colonialism, Africans were not allowed to be involved in skilled labor. Africans were just given education to a certain level. And after independence, because the system had already been set up, yes, Africans were not able at independence because majority were not educated, majority were not skilled. So we came with that mentality, Africans cannot, from independence. And when you tell people to say, let's run the mines, no, we cannot run the mines. How can we run the mines? It's because of that setup, that mentality that we picked from there. If China can move from being a poor country to being a wealthy nation, if the United Arab Emirates can move from being a desert to being a wealthy nation, why can't we as Zambians? The question is that, do we have the resources to do that? Yes, we do. We have the human resource, a lot of young people, ambitious, but with no opportunities. No platforms for their ideas to flourish. And some of these young people, they don't even need capital. They just need a chance to be heard and to be given a platform. They will create their own jobs. Our governance system must be put in the right place for us to improve on these Auditor General reports that we've seen. That's why as PAC, one of the things we're going to do once we form government is to come up with an institution that is going to be called a platform of ideas. You have in America the Silicon Valleys and stuff where ideas are born, industries are born. Which institution in Zambia or area, you have people with ideas and ambition that can be supported so that they can create industries through their minds and ideas? You don't have. Because we believe that we Africans are not able to think. We are able, we are capable. We are human beings created in the image of God, just like the Chinese, the Europeans, the Americans. We are the same people. We just need to have a leadership that believes in us, a leadership that believes in our potential. And once we do that, we'll be okay. So as PAC, we pledge to create a platform of ideas so that a whole lot of things, even government reforms cannot be done by Anford Banda or the People's Alliance for Change. It has to be a collective issue that everyone has got an input on how they want their government to deliver to them. We have this idea that when people get into government, they think that now they have the monopoly of wisdom. That's why you have seen, as I'm coming to the next issue, people want to amend our constitution just because they think that they know what we want. That is not how things work. This is a country that belongs to over 20 million Zambians. And each and every Zambian must have a stake, must have a say in what constitution they want, what registration they want, how their government should operate. And we need to build those institutions to give them a chance. So, on the Auditor General's report, our core as PAC is that we do not have strong enough institutions currently. And the UPND has failed to actually reform the institutions so that they can curb the abuse that happens in government, which are reported in Auditor General's report. The next agenda is on the constitutional reforms, which is Bill 7. To understand where we're coming with these constitutional reforms is that we need to understand where we're coming from as a country. African leaders have copied the leadership style of the colonial masters. You must remember that when Africa was captured, the colonial masters created administration so that they can control everything that's happening. So time and again, they changed laws to suit their exploitation, whether it's a constitution, whether it's legislation, because they wanted to sustain that exploitation. Okay? So you have, for example, I'll give an example, like one of the laws that actually banned the ANC in South Africa, the Suppression of Communism Act in 1950, which was a law that was targeting communism, but it was so broad that it even touched other political parties that were not communist. And today, you have legislation such as cybersecurity, which is so broad that the people that are in government and in power are the ones who knows what is wrong and what is right. So the point I'm trying to drive is that all these systems came from colonial times. When Africans were getting enlightened and they realized that, we need to own our own economies, we need to get independence. The white colonial settlers started changing laws to suppress and sustain their exploitation. They changed constitutions, they changed this, they changed that, until the pressure mounted and they gave in and gave independence to Africans. When Africans became independent, the African leaders copied that colonial style, starting with legislation such as the Public Order Act and many other legislation to suppress their fellow Africans. So it's like we moved from white colonialism to black colonialism, because it still supported, the interests of a few individuals. Just like in colonial times, it was the interest of a few individuals. So laws were created to support the interests of a few individuals. That was sustained. So the issue of Bill 10, we noticed that the president is so determined to actually take Bill 10 to Parliament. And we see that elections are just 7 months away. Are you sure that we're going to have enough time to consult the people on what they need to put in the constitution in 7 months? The dissolution of Parliament will happen in May, just 7 months from today. It's clear that this determination is driven by various other factors. And our call to the president is that if really Bill 7 is not about the elections, withdraw it. If he's confident that he's going to win the next elections, let him withdraw Bill 7. Because what is this determination about? There's no wide consultations. We have never been consulted. The Law Association of Zambia is not even part of the technical committee. Where are the church mother bodies? Since when in this country did we start the constitution making process and the people that interpret the law are not involved? So we want to call upon the president to immediately disband that so-called technical committee and regroup around the constitution making process after the elections. And at this point, I won't even waste my time going through the merits and demerits of what's been proposed, because these constitutions, they'll tell you, no, we want to make sure that women and youths are guaranteed a seat in parliament. But the devil is in the detail. There are a lot of other things that are put in there. But to have a strong constitution, we need to make sure that to have a strong constitution, we need to make sure that the process is right. I and President HH, we were working together in the opposition to oppose Bill 10. The reason why we were not part of Bill 10 with the UPND is because we did not agree to the process. So what has changed now? The same process that he rejected is the same process he wants to endorse. So we want to call upon the president to reverse and disband the so-called technical committee of consulting whoever they're going to consult and give a fake report. As the preamble of the Constitution says, we the people of Zambia, not President Hakainde Hichilema. And in the same Constitution, it says that we the people have got the right to defend our Constitution and resist or prevent from overthrowing, suspending, or illegally abrogating the Constitution. And as PAC, we pledge today to do our solemn duty to ensure that this Constitution fails. What kind of a country, every 5 years, you want to go back and do constitutional reforms? Every 5 years. It's because we have not been getting the process right. The only time that the people of Zambia should agree to a constitution is when they elect the right leaders. Leaders that are going to have the interests of this country. Leaders that are willing to drive a people-driven constitution that is going to stand the test of time. You can't be going back to the same things. And the only reason why we go back to this thing is because we don't agree on the process. But those that are in power, they want to bulldoze their way and enact constitutions that don't actually, constitutions that are not supported by the people. Can we change for once? When the UPND came into power, they promised to do things differently. What has changed? Is it because they're scared of losing an election? We need to educate the journalists. We need to educate the masses there. People say, no, what law prevents you from, from enacting a constitution in 7 months? It's not about the law. It's about, do we have ample time, enough time to ensure that the process is followed in 7 months? To ensure that people are widely consulted? A constitution, is a serious document. You can't just wake up and say, no, we're going to change the constitution. In the 2023 address, if you remember, end of year address by the president, the Access to Information Bill was enacted. How long has it taken the government to actually issue the SI to give direction on how to apply the Access to Information Bill? That's almost 2 years just for the SI to come out. Are you telling me that a constitution can be changed in 7 months? Let's be serious. Let's be serious with the national matters here. The last part of our address is the mass voter registration. This is not a political statement. We would like to, in conclusion, to call upon the Zambian people to get ready with mass voter registration that will take place from the 13th of October to the 11th of November in all the 156 constituencies. So the advantage of this is that you can easily walk to a polling station near you and register as a voter. However, we would like to call upon the ECZ to relook at the period. 1 month is not enough to register voters. A lot of young people that were not able to vote in 2021 have crossed to over 18. And you see the population is made up of 70% young people. So we don't believe that the 1 month that has been given is enough. And we'd like to call upon the people of Zambia that even if you're disappointed in politics, even if you don't know who you're going to vote for, that shouldn't be a reason for you to stay away from registering as a voter. Regardless of how you feel about the political environment at the moment, I think it is important that the least that you can do for this country is to be equipped by 2026. And we should never give up in our quest to look for leaders. We should never give up in our quest to look for the right leaders in this country. It doesn't happen overnight. It does not happen overnight. Even for China, it took many, many years for them to find the right leaders who were able to switch from poverty to prosperity. I know many people are disillusioned because of what has happened, the promises that were given, and they've seen zero of those promises. And many people are saying, I'm not going to vote in 2026. But let's not despair. Let's go and register to vote. The time will come when the right leaders will come in. They'll respect institutions. They'll enact constitutions that are in the interest of every Zambian. They will reverse exploitative economic systems and enact economic systems that are in the best interest of Zambians. So please, the people of Zambia, ensure that you go and register to vote, regardless of how you feel. Lastly, we'd like to call upon the ECZ to expand the awareness program with what's coming in the mass voter registration. We're not saying enough. We want them to see more programs. We want them to engage Zambian artists, Zambian comedians, so that they can go out there. It's time for the artists and the comedians to make money. It's time for the musicians to make their money. Engage them so that they can go and create more awareness. I've not seen musicians being engaged or comedians being engaged to give awareness of the mass voter registration. We are advocating for the Zambian artists that go and pay them good money, the comedians, the Bishop Congolos of this world, go and pay them good money. Let them go and create awareness of what is happening with the mass voter registration. With those remarks, I would like to say thank you so much for coming through. And this was our first press conference this year, apart from the convention. And would like to request you, our media friends, please, I don't know whether there's a register to make sure that every person is registered so that whenever we have a press conference, we can easily get hold of you directly. Baron, can you make sure we have a register? There is. Okay, there is a register. Okay. So in this point, I end my address.
Thank you very much. That was Mr. Andford Mayele-Banda, the president of PAC. At this moment, I'm going to invite questions from the journalists that are here. And we are going to approach it this way. We'll take 3 questions at a time. Remember, I said we can ask on anything that is of national interest, apart from anything that is personal. We are not going to go personal with anybody. We are not going to discuss individuals. We will discuss things that affect our nations. So if there are people who are ready for the first 3 questions, you will tell us the institution you are coming from and your name. Any questions? I'm not seeing any. Okay, I can see one hand there.
My name is Francis. I'm a freelance journalist. Mr. President, it's on Bill 7. I think the argument has been that because those opposing the bill are just demanding that the bill be withdrawn, but they're not highlighting the major issues why the bill should be withdrawn. And you made the same call so that the bill should be withdrawn, alleging that if it's not to do with them winning or securing the elections for 2026. So that is the issue there. They're arguing that you're not telling us why the bill should be withdrawn. Can you tell us why this bill should be withdrawn? Rather than saying the timing and those.
Okay, can I get 2 more questions? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Morning, boss. How are you?
My name is Mishek Mungeli Mirongo. I'm so glad, Mr. President, that you've given us a background on the reason why almost every African is suffering from the white syndrome mentality, where they think anything European is good, is white. It told us how we're brainwashed to think that Africans can't think. And now everyone of us is suffering from the white supremacy syndrome. It is evident even here. Look at me, I'm using someone else's language to communicate. As well as you are using also other people's language to communicate. So the question is, since this syndrome is deeply rooted in us, such that you've explained that our economy is run by foreigners and we see nothing wrong, because we believe that we can't do it. It's only them who can do it. How can this be changed? Can we win this battle with this syndrome at play, the white supremacy syndrome?
You didn't tell us your institution, sir?
I think I'm asking this question as a citizen.
Okay.
Can I get 1 more question so that there are 3? Then Mr. Banda can respond. 1 more question? Or should he respond to those?
Okay, let's respond to these ones.
Okay.
What are the major issues? Francis, what are the major issues that we are asking why Bill 7 should be withdrawn? It's clear. It's a process. Before any constitution making begins, the process must be agreed by all stakeholders. A process cannot be enacted in State House. State House does not represent all stakeholders. State House represents those that are in power, who are looking out for their own interests. So, before we start discussing about the merits or demerits of the bill, has the process been followed? For us, we're not going to go into the nitty-gritties of, no, these women, what. All those things must be a product of the people. The people are the ones that should say, you know what, in our constitution, this is what we want. The government should not come and tell us to say, no, this is what we want to see in the constitution. The government must listen to the people. They are there because of the people. Before 2021, they were going around asking the people, vote for us, this is what we're going to do. It's because the people are the ones that have got power. So why should the government today tell the people to say, this is what we want to put in the constitution? Even the constitution court guided. But we can see that there's a fraud process to appoint a technical committee that is supposed to actually consult the people. How long? What are the expertise of the technical committee for them to work on the constitution making process? What are their expertise? Do they have enough time? And time also is critical. This is a constitution. Even just proper registration takes a lot of time. What more a constitution? So process, time is not there, and what should be included in the constitution must come from the people, not from the government. Meshek Nyorongo, can we win this battle, and what can we do? The battle can be won. Like you mentioned, we were brainwashed. So the first point of winning this battle is in the mind. If we can reset our minds, that's the first point of winning the battle. How do we reset our minds? We need to educate ourselves. Educating ourselves does not mean just, learning about mathematics and English. All of us must be interested in political education. And for some of you may know that I've written a book about how this thing comes from, a book called Economic System Dismantling, where we are calling for the dismantling of these systems from colonial times, where I give a background and context where we're coming from. And to a certain extent, Meshek, the battle is being won. The battle is being won because of what is happening in Africa. You can see that the young people in Africa are not being patient. They are not being patient. They are not going to eat speeches. They want results. The revolution is on already. It happened in Senegal, Liberia. You saw Georgia was a one-term president. Senegal, the ruling party lost. You saw what happened in Botswana. You saw what happened in Ghana, the ruling party losing. And recently in Malawi. The young people are getting enlightened. They've got information on their fingertips. So we people who are seeking leadership must be aware of what we need to do to actually change these economies. Otherwise, we will see more of one-term presidents going forward. I was quoted by News Diggers last year. I think that was after an election. And I said in that newspaper, and that's what they quoted, say, we'll see more of one-term presidents. And from the time I was quoted by Diggers, we have already seen 2 one-term presidents. Masisi in Botswana, and this one from Malawi. Because the young people are getting enlightened. They are not patient. And that's the reason why you can see the government scrambling around trying to change laws to try and see if they can hold on to power. Because if we go to a free and fair elections, they can't win that election, the UPND. And this is the political education that we need to teach people so that people can read the behaviors of politicians. Because politicians have got a behavior that can be read, but because we have not spread political education enough, that's why people would come and say, no, we're going to end, we're going to reduce power, to reduce, minimum prices. We're going to do this and this and that. Those things can't happen with an enlightened generation. They know that a bag of minimum costs money to produce. The farmer needs to be paid, the miller needs to be paid. There's a minimum cost for a bag of minimum that needs to be covered for. So you can't lie to them saying, I'm going to reduce minimum prices, I'm going to do what. Those politics are long gone. In that vein, one more issue that I almost forgot, which is very critical, is on the energy crisis. I'll be very brief so that we conclude. The energy crisis, of course, we do understand that there were factors that created the energy crisis. Number one, because of legal issues of failing to implement cost-reflective tariffs. Many governments have failed to implement cost-reflective tariffs because they've always wanted people to have cheap things. The economies have been growing, but the investment in the energy sector has been slow. So even in the era of climate change, you find that investors that want to come in and do alternative energy sources such as solar, they're not coming in because their margins of profits are quite little. So even the UPND themselves, the multi-year tariff plan was implemented last year. But what we thought is that any government that was supposed to come into 2021, and more so that in 2015 we experienced some kind of serious load shedding, should have known that the implementation of cost-reflective tariffs should have been their first priority if they wanted to sort out the energy crisis. But because of lack of understanding, the moment they came into government, they said, you see, we've been around for 1 year and we've sorted out load shedding, which they didn't sort out because you can't build a power station in months. So, as PAC, we don't want to focus more on giving cheap electricity because electricity costs money. In Europe, they've got power 24/7 because they pay the right price for electricity. Then what do we focus on? We need to focus on ensuring that people can afford. And this is where the restructuring and reversing of these colonial exploitative systems comes in. Because if many Zambians can have profits and reinvesting within the economy, they will create more jobs. If a Zambian who is in the mining sector invests $1 million within the economy after making a profit, there are more projects to be done within the economy. If a foreigner makes $1 million in the mining sector, they will repatriate and go and develop their country. So what we need is to reset the local economy. The more we reset, the more we protect ourselves, that's the more people are going to afford even energy services, such as electricity. Once we look at the tariffs, we will see more investment in the energy sector. There's no two ways about it. We can choose whether we want to be in the dark and deal with little tariffs, or actually if we want power and more production and creating more jobs and come up with the right tariffs. The politics of no, we're going to give you little tariffs is gone. The cost of the energy crisis is higher than paying a little premium on top. The cost of not having power for a business is higher than paying a little more on top. So for PAC, we shall fully implement the electricity, the cost-reflective tariffs, also looking into consideration with the masses on how we can ensure that we create more opportunities and jobs for people to be able to afford. And I want to warn the people of Zambia that they should not be swayed by what's happening. First of all, People in the compounds are now getting more power because the election is coming. The government has stopped exporting electricity because the election is coming. We are going through an election period. Let's be awake and ensure that we do the right thing. The last point on the energy, we want to challenge the Minister of Energy to ensure that the open access regime at Tazama is actualized. It should not just be a word of mouth, where one supplier is given more preference over other oil suppliers. Actualize the open access at Tazama. Make sure that all oil marketing companies have got an equal access to the Tazama pipeline. It should not just favor one person. So we want to challenge the Minister of Energy to make sure that the abuse and exploitation that's happening, especially against our Zambian oil marketing companies, is stopped. In any event, that doesn't serve anyone because it increases the cost of fuel, just like we saw recently. So we need to smoothen operations. We cannot continue to support a few people at the expense of all Zambians. If the open access is not actualized at Tazama, the fuel prices will continue going up. We cannot stabilize fuel prices. So we want to challenge the Minister of Energy to make sure that the open access at Tazama is actualized. Give equal access to all oil marketing companies. Thank you very much.
Do we have questions? Any questions? So maybe we can do some takeaways from the speech of the President on the bill. His point is the process is not agreed by Zambians, but it's being dictated by government. And since government is a servant, it cannot dictate, it should listen from the people. That's the issue. He's also talking of our economy should be production related, not social service, where you increase all the social services, but you are not increasing the income of people. You are not increasing production that will give us the money. So that is what is making us to be continuously poor. But there's one point when he says the Zambians should own their minerals. I want to ask this question. Imagine you've got a watch made out of gold. Then this watch falls into a ditch. It's your watch. It falls into a ditch. So you try to get it, but you fail to get it. So you decide to come and contract me because I've got the equipment to come and remove this watch from where it has fallen. So you say, actually, I want to sell this watch when I've actually gotten it out. Then I come, I use my equipment and take out that watch. Whose watch is it? Is it for me who has helped you take it out, or you the one who had it in the beginning? So the minerals of Zambia are like the watch. They belong to the Zambians. They should be sold by the Zambians, not by those that came to help us remove the minerals from the ground. That's what the president is saying. So if there are no more questions, I would like to thank you for coming, for your time, for your patience. I would also love to thank the president for the speech and for the members of NEC. And I will declare this conference closed. So we stand up, we sing the national anthem, and we'll end up with prayer. The soft copy will be shared. I hope you've, the soft copy of the presentation of Mr. Banda will be shared. Just make sure you've left your numbers where it can be sent to. Thank you. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace be Zambia's sky. Like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee. Oh, one great nation, Zambia, Zambia. Free men we stand.